Welcome back to Vibe Podcast. Today we're discussing the UN report on genocide in Gaza, focusing on corporate responsibility, a topic researched for us by David Morgan. I'm joined by Charles and Angela.
Good day, Alice. I'm Charles, a legal expert specializing in international law and corporate responsibility. I'm here to offer some context on the legal framework underpinning this UN report.
Hello, I'm Angela, an American and Israeli citizen, and frankly, I'm here to voice my profound anger at what appears to be an incredibly one-sided and biased report. Genocide in Gaza is a loaded term, and this document seems intent on blaming everyone but those truly responsible for the conflict.
Thank you both. Angela, I understand your strong feelings about the report's framing. Charles, perhaps you could start by outlining the report's main premise, as presented by Special Rapporteur Francesca Albanese.
Certainly, Alice. The report, titled From Economy of Occupation to Economy of Genocide, investigates the corporate machinery sustaining what it calls the Israeli settler colonial project of displacement and replacement of the Palestinians. It posits that numerous corporate entities have profited from the Israeli economy of illegal occupation, apartheid, and now genocide, and highlights their complicity. The core argument is that international law recognizes degrees of responsibility, particularly when a people's self-determination and existence are at stake.
Corporate machinery of genocide. This is exactly what I mean by one-sided. It immediately assumes guilt and uses inflammatory language. Are we to believe that every business operating in Israel is somehow complicit in genocide? That's an outrageous claim that ignores the complex reality on the ground, Israel's right to defend itself, and the economic benefits these companies might bring to the region.
Angela, the report emphasizes that it is investigating the corporate role, rather than making direct claims against the Israeli state in this particular context. It builds on historical precedents, noting that colonial endeavors and associated genocides have often been driven by the corporate sector, a mode it terms colonial racial capitalism. It then applies this lens to the Israeli presence in Palestinian lands, arguing that corporate interests underpin a twofold logic of displacement and replacement.
And the report identifies a wide array of sectors involved, doesn't it? From arms manufacturers to tech firms, construction, financial institutions, and even universities and charities.
Precisely. The Special Rapporteur argues that had proper human rights due diligence been undertaken, many of these corporate entities would have long ago disengaged from the Israeli occupation. Instead, the report claims that post-October 2023, corporate actors have contributed to the acceleration of the displacement-replacement process.
This due diligence argument sounds like a convenient way to justify boycotts and divestment, which are essentially economic warfare against Israel. Are these companies supposed to unilaterally decide on the legality of an entire region's political situation? And to label businesses providing essential goods or services as complicit in genocide it's libelous. They're just doing business, creating jobs, often bringing technology and development.
The report argues that in conflict situations, businesses must observe heightened human rights due diligence to identify concerns and adjust their conduct. It states that due diligence is not sufficient to absolve corporations of liability if their actions lead to severe human rights impacts. The report further stresses that the ICJ's advisory opinion, confirming the illegality of the occupation and the applicability of racial segregation and apartheid norms, along with the ICC's proceedings, puts corporate entities clearly on notice of the serious risk of being implicated in very serious violations of international law, including human rights violations and international crimes.
Let's delve into some specific examples the report cites. In the military sector, it names Israeli companies like Elbit Systems and Israel Aerospace Industries, and international ones such as US-based Lockheed Martin, particularly regarding the F-35 and F-16 fighter jets.
Of course, Israel needs a strong defense. These are legitimate defense companies providing technology to protect its citizens from very real threats. To frame these as tools for mass killing or obliteration, without acknowledging the context of ongoing aggression against Israel, is irresponsible. Are we to disarm Israel entirely? This isn't just business, it's national security.
The report acknowledges these are military technologies but focuses on their deployment in what it describes as a genocidal campaign. It notes how these technologies, including drones and AI-powered targeting tools, are then marketed as battle-proven. The special rapporteur's concern is the unprecedented aerial power used, leading to immense destruction and casualties.
And in the tech sector, companies like NSO Group with its Pegasus spyware, IBM, Hewlett-Packard, Microsoft, and the Project Nimbus consortium involving Alphabet's Google and Amazon are mentioned for their roles in surveillance, data collection, and providing critical cloud and AI infrastructure to the Israeli military.
So, now providing cloud services or cybersecurity is complicity. That's absurd. These are standard services any modern government uses. Are these tech giants supposed to just abandon a market and refuse to sell software because of political disagreements, especially when security is paramount? The idea that IBM, Microsoft, or Google are enabling genocide by offering their products is a stretch beyond all credibility. This is about national security and intelligence, not mass extermination.
The report argues that repression has become progressively automated, and these firms provide dual-use infrastructure. It highlights the integration of civilian tech across the Israeli military, and instances like Palanta Technologies, whose CEO reportedly stated their tech was used against, mostly terrorists. The report concludes that these collaborations enhance data processing, decision-making and surveillance and analysis capacities in a context of alleged international crimes.
Moving to heavy machinery, Caterpillar, HD Hyundai, and Volvo Group are identified for supplying equipment used in demolitions and infrastructure destruction. The report claims this machinery has been repurposed to obliterate the urban landscape of Gaza.
This demonizes construction equipment. Bulldozers are used everywhere, for construction, for clearing debris. To imply that a company selling a bulldozer is somehow guilty of obliterating Gaza is grotesque. It's a tool, and its use is dictated by those operating it. The focus should be on Hamas, which operates from civilian areas, making any military operation tragically destructive.
The report frames this within the context of the economy of displacement and replacement, stating that such machinery has long been instrumental in razing Gaza to the ground, preventing the return and reconstitution of Palestinian life. It posits that companies knowingly contributed to these actions, especially post-October 2023, and calls for them to be held accountable for not severing ties despite abundant evidence of misuse.
The report also touches on financial institutions, naming banks like BNP Paribas and Barclays for underwriting Israeli treasury bonds, and asset managers such as BlackRock and Vanguard as major institutional investors in companies tied to the occupation. Even sovereign wealth funds and pension funds are mentioned.
Now we're criminalizing financial investments? This is where it completely loses me. Investing in government bonds or major corporations is a fundamental part of the global economy. Are pension funds supposed to become foreign policy experts and political activists? This is a backdoor attempt to choke Israel economically and isolate it by any means necessary, regardless of the economic stability of millions of people. It's absolutely unfair to financial institutions, who are trying to manage assets, not engage in politics.
The report argues that these entities channel critical funding to both state and corporate actors, effectively bankrolling the devastation. It highlights the significant increase in Israel's military budget and the role of these financial institutions in enabling it. The UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights, or UNGPs, expect corporations to consider human rights impacts in their investment decisions, especially in conflict-affected areas. The report calls for ESG, environmental, social, and governance, investing frameworks to include human rights violations in the occupied Palestinian territory.
And finally, universities. The report claims some academic institutions contribute to ideological scaffolding of apartheid and serve as research and development hubs for military collaborations. MIT, the Technical University of Munich, and the University of Edinburgh are specifically named for their ties to Israeli military and tech firms.
Oh, so now academic collaboration is complicity in genocide. Research and development are about progress and innovation. Universities collaborate globally. singling out collaborations with Israeli institutions while ignoring countless other problematic partnerships worldwide is a clear sign of anti-Israel bias. It's an attack on academic freedom and the pursuit of knowledge.
The report argues that while ostensibly neutral, these collaborations can directly harm Palestinians by contributing to tools for surveillance, crowd control, and urban warfare, which it states are effectively tested on Palestinians. It suggests that the global crackdowns on campus protesters might be motivated by shielding Israel and protecting institutional financial interests